At this time, we will reconvene. I have asked Mr. Modi, Supervisor Modi, to manage the speakers and the order of speaking. We've assigned a number as the requests to speak have been presented to us. Mr. Modi will call on the speaker and call on the next speaker. So if the next speaker in rotation would be prepared and perhaps come over here, we can speed this along. Mr. Modi, any other observations?
No, sir.
All right, let's get started. The first speaker is
Marcia Jones, followed by Alexander Henderson.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, board members. Good morning to everyone. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Chappelle for speaking out, and the first sensible thing I've heard come from the other side of the bench, really. Of course, it has to be separated with teenagers. In the same way that prescription drugs need to be separated from teenagers, in the same way that alcohol needs to be separated from teenagers. I come from an odd position here. I've both been in the medical field for 30 years myself, and now I'm a patient. I have cancer. I think that if everyone behind on the board would get with, we don't want the cartel grows here. We don't want the gangster grows here. We want patients to be able to grow their own medicine. If somebody decided that chamomile tea was what they needed to go to sleep at night or to relax at the end of the day, what are we going to start with something on that too? I mean, come on. Everybody in here would like to make some sense of this. It's got people nervous, it's got people scared, it's got people not being able to afford their medicine, and it's time for some real sense to come to this. The county coming together with the patients will help you get the gangsters out of here. We can do that. We know how to do that. We know how to be compliant and cooperative with people who are cooperating with us. I don't smoke pot, I eat it. That's the way it's the best medicine for me. But I need to have it in order to be able to eat it. I need to have it in order to be able to be out of pain. I take it at night, an hour before I go to bed. And it lasts me till about 3 o'clock the next day. Out of pain. What a concept. Anybody who's been in pain for a long time knows that's a really good thing. And that's what most of the people who are here to speak with you today on this are worried about. God bless you all in your consideration of something that's normal, sane, and sensible that we can all live with and work together on. God bless.
Thank you.
Mr. Henderson, followed by Kathy Grindstaff.
Good morning, Chairman Kehoe, members of the board. My name is Alexander Henderson. I'm an attorney. I am not a cannabis patient. Apparently, there's a large problem in Shasta County with qualified sick patients out of control that needs regulation. Because make no mistake about it, the laws that you're talking about changing here and the ordinance that you enacted last year, it applies only to qualified patients growing amounts of cannabis within their recommended limits that their doctors have provided. These laws do not apply to gangsters who are growing for profit. They do not apply to those people who are running large amounts of marijuana to other parts of the state, who are creating commercial grows. These laws are inapplicable to those people. You are fortunate, and the great people of Shasta County are fortunate to live in the great state of California, which has provided for you an enforcement mechanism to operate on these things. It's called the Penal Code and the Health and Safety Code of the state of California. Those are the laws that regulate against illegal marijuana conduct. To have your doctor stand here and announce a litany of reefer madness references that are as old, arcane, and false as they were before, and they are as false as they are today, there is nothing to substantiate anything that the doctor stated to you. And I hate to break it to the doctor, but that issue isn't before us today. The issue of whether or not cannabis is a bad thing is not before us. It's already been deemed medicine. It is medicine according to the state of California, and now we have to live within that parameter. So what this board purports to do is this board purports to regulate the qualified patients growing within the proper limits. Because if you're not growing within your limits and you're not a qualified patient, then you are subject to being dealt with by the penal code and by the health and safety code. These are the regulatory mechanisms we have in place that have worked for years. Now, if you want to increase penalties, maybe enhance the felony punishment for cultivation in an unlawful context, well, then you're going to have to go talk to your state legislature, because that's kind of preempted. But if you want to deal with your patients, your sick people who are suffering from chronic diseases such as AIDS, such as cancer, chronic pain conditions, people who want to grow their own medicine, these are the people that you are talking about having a problem with, that you feel that you need to regulate, the people growing in medicine. And this is just not a problem that requires this kind of, what you want to do is you want to criminalize the patients. You want to say this no longer should be a code enforcement issue because we don't have enough people to handle our code enforcement needs. So because we have a human resources problem, we're going to up this up to the misdemeanor category, and we're going to start having jury trials for every one of these qualified patients who falls maybe askew slightly of the codes. This cannot be a logical or rational allocation of resources that this board could consider. My time?
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Kathy Grindstaff. If I could ask you please to refrain. I know you all support different speakers, but we have lots of different speakers and a lot of time to get through here. So Kathy Grandstaff, followed by Jeanette Pringle.
Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kathy Grindstaff. I am the project director for a Sobering Choice Coalition, and I'm here representing our coalition and members of the community. We want to thank you for your hard work in adopting ordinances in Shasta County limiting cultivation of marijuana. We understand that today you will only be looking at a resolution to send back the issue of cultivation of marijuana in Shasta County to the Planning Commission for further review. That should be a resounding yes. Although current ordinances are a step in the right direction, it has not been enough. Shasta County marijuana cultivation continues to grow, and your constituents are not happy. More than 8 cities and counties have successfully banned outdoor grows, and some of these forward-thinking cities and counties include Chico, Clovis, Corning, Elk Grove, Kings County, Lassen County, and Roseville. Lassen County has also adopted a resolution making those in violation guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to a $1,000 fine and/or 6 months in jail plus court costs. These are just a few successful examples of what other cities and counties are doing to try to fight the illegal cultivation and distribution of marijuana. Mercy Medical Center trauma update for January 2013 states that for the period September 11th through September 12th, there were a total of 1,081 trauma activations. Of those, 152 patients were tested positive for one or more of the following: 3 for cocaine, 35 for amphetamines, and 113 for marijuana. A Sobering Choice has seen an increase in the number of DUI offenders who report that they have used alcohol and marijuana together. In December of 2012, that percentage was 32.7%, and in January 2013, that percentage increased to 41.1%. You only need to read some of the blogs from the Record Searchlight to know that a growing number of residents are in agreement with you and are tired of what marijuana has done to our county. My son Dustin was killed by a DUI offender. If we do not restrict cultivation and distribution of marijuana, we are only adding another layer to the problem of drug drivers in our community. When this issue is sent back to the Planning Commission, we would like to be part of that advisory committee and be a part of the solution to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Chappelle, you had a question?
Yeah, I had one on the previous speaker, though. She's already left also, so I was just trying to get a handle on basically the prescription from the attorney that spoke, from the doctors. What quantity of plants do those prescriptions entail? Do they list the number of plants they can grow? Some do, some don't. Okay.
Mr. Chappelle?
Yes.
Are you addressing the question to Mr. Lees, or who would you like to
Well, I just want
respond?
to get a feeling on the prescription, because
Okay.
that, we'll cancel that for now, I'll see if I
Oh,
can't. find
okay,
it.
very good. Thank you.
Okay, I have Jeanette Pringle, followed by Joseph. Okay, so Jeanette's not here? She spoke earlier too, so she may have left. So Joseph, followed by Jeremy Moss.
Hi, my name is Joseph Kern. I'm a Shasta County Master Gardener, and I'm also a board member of this organization. I do things in my community such as pruning the rows, trees, and bushes in front of City Hall, cleaning up the 200-year-old apple trees out at Whiskey Town, and I'm also the individual responsible for coming up with the design for the Reading Library rooftop garden, which we will be starting soon. I care about my community, and in return, I would expect that my community would plan certain matters fairly. With that, I would like to compliment what Mr. Chappelle said about the educational format of this. It is true that both sides should be displayed and not just a one-sided issue about education, which is quite so much in the past. In fact, with cannabis, it is actually CBD that is the active ingredient for pain. In fact, the federal government and FDA are prescribing Marinol. I'm sure you are aware of that drug, in which the active component is CBD. THC is a psychoactive component, and the doctor earlier was true that smoking of any kind is carcinogenic. So, with the federal government prescribing Marinol and recognizing that CBD has a value for pain in cancer patients and multiple sclerosis patients, I would like to see our counties acting in a fair manner. I do understand the perspective that you give them an inch, they take a mile, and I do understand that, and when that happens, you have to ramify that and try to get your inch back. But the regulations forcing indoor grow ops instead of outdoor is actually more harmful to the environment. If we're concerned about a community and planning and public health, growing indoors promotes more greenhouse gases. People that grow indoors use CO2, carbon dioxide, okay? And those gases are exited out into our environment. If we care so much about that, that should be our focus. Outdoors plants intake CO2. They clean the air that we breathe. So it's kind of common sense that the more plants we have around and the more trees, the cleaner air we breathe. And as far as the smell, the lady earlier said there are all types of smells. If I was your next door neighbor, and if I have a gardenia, which is an evergreen, which is flowering right now, and gardenias are very, very potent, in some cases more potent than the smell of cannabis, would you complain if I was your next door neighbor because of the smell of my flowers? Furthermore, Seattle and Colorado have adopted as a recreational drug. Any drug's addictive by any name, even drugs and meat, they're all the same. So what I'm saying is, if California is not adopting this, which these other states have, we are no longer a United States, and it's just the nature of the beast, and there's very little you can do to stop it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jeremy Moss, followed by Joanne Owen.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Moz. Thank you for your time. I'd like to thank you guys for having our time. I'd also like for you guys to really think about this before you guys really make any drastic or harsh decisions. Obviously, I don't need to say that it's a legal medicine because it's been proven. I, like others, rent or live in mobile home parks where inside or out you cannot grow medical marijuana. If you live in a mobile home park, which most of the senior citizens or people with disablements or whatnot, which I try to help take care of, they live in mobile home parks. You cannot grow. I don't care if you try to put a structure up or even try to put in one of your rooms. There's no way. You also have all the lighting. California is trying to be an energy efficient state. If we're trying to be an energy efficient state, why are we going to go to indoor gardens and blow up a bunch of lights? I mean, you're going to blow up people's bills. There's no money there. I mean, there's money for the government, obviously, or the PG&E, but there's nothing for us to be able to get our medicine out of. Outdoor, you're able to get enough medicine to be able to live for a year. Okay, indoor, it takes a few different crops, 3 or 4 during a year, in order to process what a patient needs. I do a collective grow. Sure, maybe people say they see traffic going in and out of these types of places. Well, that is also because it would be just a person doing it for commercial if he or somebody was doing it all by themselves. But it has to take a collective, people of power to bring it together so everybody can get their medicine. I mean, people that are in these rentals, I mean, I also too rent, but I also do own property. So you have to put it on property that you can own, and you have to get permission from people that you're going to rent it from or whatnot. But I mean, whatever regulations you set forth is going to be what's set forth. We know that. We understand that. And we definitely want to get it away from the teenagers and adult. It's definitely 2 different things there. There's something that shouldn't even be said there. But if you minimize the indoor structures, you're just creating bigger energy costs. And I just really don't see how that's going to be economical for our future and our plans. Like the ladies before that nobody got to really see and address, they said they're on fixed incomes. Most people are on fixed incomes. I own my own business, and I still have a set income that you have to live on. All right, you can't just go out and spend $10 a gram, $300 an ounce on marijuana to try to help my back spasms and my pain. So I just really hope that you all can take it into your initiatives and think before just jumping ahead of the game. And again, like the gentleman did say before, plants, they eat CO2, carbon monoxide, and throw back out oxygen. Why would we want to put them in a building when they're going to be outside? And furthermore, for people wanting to be able to go and count, if they're trying, sorry for my time, but if it's going to be taken for counting purposes, you can count. It's on the property. One property is a property, either way.
Thank you.
Very much.
Joanne Owen, followed by Jess Brewer.
Thank you to the board for the time that you're allotting me. My name is Joanne Owen. I'd like to speak about my family. There's 2 family members, my nephew and my niece, who have gone down this road, starting with marijuana, amphetamines, heroin. Just these 2 family members have probably cost us, the taxpayers of California, over $4 million. They're both about to die, and it all started with marijuana. And everybody talks about their pain. I don't appreciate the laughs. Everybody talks about their pain. Okay. I have scleroderma, lupus, fibromyalgia, arthritis, Lyme disease, mercury and lead poisoning. How much pain do you think I have endured? Have I succumbed to prescriptions or marijuana? No. I personally choose to have a sound mind and a sound body, and I use Noni. $20 a bottle. It takes care of my pain, but I don't choose to get high like the marijuana users. They have a choice. They could use Noni. It does work. I would like to talk about what you're considering. I think it's a really good idea. It's going to minimalize the amount that's going to be out there, which is going to protect the children. I personally have talked to many teachers. This is protecting the children. They speak well of this separation, but there is no separation because it's out there. There are parents who are growers who are enslaving their children to harvest. These kids come to school and they stink with the stench of marijuana. We're talking elementary school level. So I would encourage you to keep it inside, but on the school 1,000-foot setback restrictions, please do not lift that, because it should not be near the schools. Please, for our children, do what's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jess Brewer, followed by Sherry Beck.
Good morning, Supervisors. Good morning, citizens of Shasta County and farmers that aren't felons. I put in a paper for the Supervisors that actually had 3 points. The first one was probably trying to clear up what Proposition 215 is, which is, the people that don't know, it is to give medical marijuana patients the right to smoke marijuana. It did lack a little bit, so on SB 420 that came along, gave people a way to obtain it and grow it. And then also I added on kind of a definition of what the 10th Amendment is. And if people don't know what that is, because the Second Amendment is really in the forefront right now, the 10th Amendment really is that, in this case, that the state does supersede the feds in this era and in this area, and also that local police are supposed to follow state law. I think most of the conversations on the opposite side that I am on is for illegal growing. I agree that it shouldn't be that. To answer one of the supervisor's questions, the doctors have been recommending up to 99 plants. I think that most patients believe that that's a little too much. I think that one way that we could eliminate the problems is go back to SB 420, which was voted on by the same people that elected you to sit on the supervisor's board, and that would be going with 6 mature female plants per patient and 12 immature. And if you are going to have a collective, unless you want to get into all the rigmarole and business entities that you have to get into, you can have 9 patients. That means the max that you could grow in a collective grow is 54 plants. And I believe that that is a good way to start. I believe that the people that you did hear from the opposite side, such as the doctor, was actually an advertisement for some kind of a prescription drug where you didn't hear what the drug was, you just heard what the side effects were. So my point is I think that we should protect the patients of Shasta County and go after the illegal growers, go after the cartels, go after the folks that aren't playing by the so-called rules. And as the sheriff stated, you don't even have the funds to take care of what you did last year, and you're going to make more strict laws that you're not going to be able to enforce either. It puts them in a bad situation. And as a homeowner and a landowner, I think I'm getting tired of my rights getting taken away from me by people that really don't know who I am or what I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Beck, followed by Rodney Jones. Is Sherry Beck? Okay.
You're so quiet. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Dave Kehoe, other members of the board, Mr. Lees, Mr. Cruz, my name is Sherry Beck. I will be brief and to the point. When I was attending various meetings last summer, I met with a couple who lived in an affluent northeast Reading neighborhood and who are professionals who work here in town. They also raise horses on their rural acreage. They stated that there was a pot grower on the end of the street which is creating problems for their rural area. At a recent neighborhood watch meeting attended by a large number of people, everyone was concerned about the impact on their neighborhoods. There was a large increase in the traffic, there were noisy parties at night, and the worst was the polluted air that they had to breathe from the pot farm. The neighbor at the end of the street constructed a fence that shielded his children
from the activities and the people living there who were growing pot. I referred them to the sheriff's office to check on the property to find out if it was a legal grow. I share their concerns. Do we have a nuisance abatement program for those destroying neighborhoods? And apparently we do. Do we not have an air pollution ordinance? Do we not have state laws and local ordinances prohibiting smoking in certain areas? Secondhand smoke has been shown to be harmful to people, especially to children who are around it. What can be done to control the situation and protect our children? They are the leaders of tomorrow. It's interesting that there have been some letters to the editor of the local newspaper which indicated there were alternatives to marijuana to cure the ills it is supposed to alleviate. I support the efforts of the board to suppress the harmful effects the growing of these crops have on our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Beck.
Rodney Jones, followed by Rosemary Smith.
Thank you, Board. Last time I was here, you had an overhead projector. I did not make copies of this document, but I did send you all an email that had a link to this document in it. This is your own document, okay? Let me start with this. For the last 10 years, Shasta County has been ranked as one of the worst California counties for its rate of drug-induced deaths and has been in the bottom 7 counties since 2001. Between 1992 and 2003, there has been an increase in self-reported abuse of prescription medications, including a 140.5% increase in opioid abuse and 44.5% increase in central nervous system depressants abuse and 41.5% increase in CNS stimulant abuse. In Shasta County, hydrocodone and morphine were found to be in potentially toxic levels, most often in drug-induced deaths. The top 5 drugs that cause death in Shasta County are hydrocodone, morphine, methamphetamine, hydromorphine, and oxycodone. The conclusion of this document says, in the last 10 to 20 years, prescription drug abuse has become a rising problem in the United States, California, and Shasta County. Increased rates of abuse of prescription drugs has led to an increased drug-induced death. The problem does not appear to be slowing down. Interventions are needed to reduce or stop the abuse of prescription drugs. Interventions are needed in all levels of society, from federal government to local healthcare providers. That's your document from the coroner. It's drug-induced deaths in Shasta County. I have a huge problem. I came to this board when you first started talking about this issue and said what you need to do is get a group of people together on all sides and come up with an ordinance that everybody can live with. Did you listen to me? No. That's why we're back at it again. You need to do the right thing and create an ordinance that everybody can live with. I believe your priorities are way out of order. Instead of trying to create criminals out of sick people, you should be addressing the real issues of drug use and drug crime in Shasta County. Cannabis is a huge minority when compared to prescription drugs, meth, and heroin in Shasta County. As a society, we are prescribing methamphetamines to 6-year-old children for ADD and ADHD. Ritalin is the same thing as methamphetamines. Methamphetamine causes holes in the brain. So what are we doing? We're setting our children up to be career criminals because we get them addicted to methamphetamine, and then when they turn 18, they can't get it anymore, so what do? They go to street meth. That's my time?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Rosemary Smith, followed by Tammy Brazil.
Hi, my name's Rose Smith. These are my own private opinions that I'm giving. They're not reflective of any boards or committees I'm on in the community. This issue, unfortunately, a lot of the information you have to get is to educate you on medical cannabis to begin with. And in your head, you're trying to make up, is this good or bad or whatever. The real issue here is a land use issue. It has to do with planning and zoning and personal property rights. I own property in 2 different districts in the county and also in the city of Shasta Lake. It's a very restrictive use of our land already, of what people are allowed to do as far as growing medical cannabis. You already have zoning in effect. The square footage is very restrictive, and now you're trying to do something that restricts a person's right to grow in the ground versus in a building. A building to grow cannabis in is a lot of money. You have to have air conditioning, lights. If you don't have electricity on your property, you have to have generators and use of fuel. There's chance for fuel to spill. When I was deciding what I wanted to talk about, I also looked at some of the books I've been reading lately that are on my desk. The one I've been studying the last year is Teeming with Microbes, A Gardener's Guide to the Soil Food Web. This is important to me that if I want to grow my cannabis in soil, that I have organic soil, that I have microbes that are contributing to the plant without adding things, and that's my choice to grow like that. If I want to grow organic cannabis for my use or to donate to collectors if I have excess to donate to them. They want to know if I'm using chemicals and how the cannabis is growing. So it's a health issue there. So I want to have, I think you need to go and look at things that have to do with land and property rights. And don't put something that's more restrictive on patients that costs them a lot more money to do. And then one of the comments made was we need to speed this process to get more restrictive regulations. You should not be speeding the process. You should be educating yourselves more. We have 2 new two new supervisors. You need to educate yourself more on medical cannabis use and the land use. And so that's the thing you need to look at, not to decide if you agree or disagree with medical cannabis use. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Tammy Brazil, followed by Hillary Kreiner.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Dr. Tammy K. Brazil, ND, CTN, DN, MDH, PhD, research scientist. Okay, what I study is exclusively is cannabis. I am trained by UC San Francisco, okay, in the cannabis therapeutics. I have been trained for a very long time. I know probably just about everything there is about cannabis if it's to be out there. Okay, I'm also extremely ill. I have a disease that is killing me by the minute. My brain is deteriorating. For such a smart person, it is getting eaten away by the minute. I am on cannabis. I do cannabis. I have to juice it. I juice it. I do not get high, neither does anybody else from juicing it. I mix it with a proper amount of vitamins and vegetables and fruits. And that is to give my body nutrients, because in August and September I went through 3 bone marrow transplants, and now I will leave Thursday and I will get 3 more. We don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know how it's going to come. I have doctors from 4 countries working on me, okay, and a very good biochemist, and they're all working together to try to save me because I have tried to do so much in my life. And now we're trying to take away the rights to us growing, and not just me, but all my patients, because I am also from the Queen of Dragons, the collective in Shasta Lake. A lot of our people, they grow. They need to grow. Just like me, growing is healing. There is something miraculous about working in your garden. No, not on the big time gardens where there's 900. Who can control that kind of thing? It doesn't work like that. My plants grew next to my tomatoes, next to all my cantaloupes, and my corn and everything else. Okay, but I had to go out there daily and juice them. None of that stuff ever got dry. I was consuming almost a plant a day just trying to build my brain. My patients are doing the same thing. Okay, my patients are concerned. What are they concerned about? You're going to take away the growing. Okay, you can't do that. This is something that is a mental thing that helps them. Okay, in 1996, California voters voted to the Prop 215 Compassionate Use Act, and that was to ensure patients and their primary caregivers who obtain and use marijuana for medical purposes upon the recommendation of a physician are not subject to criminal prosecution or sanction. Patients are given statutory defense and statutory authority under Prop 215, which is codified by SB 420, which gives me and other patients statutory immunity and defense. No local municipality can take away my rights. You can't trump state law with a local ordinance. Prop 215 states clearly that local government can only enhance my rights and help me grow this stuff, not put it in a building, okay? Not make it harder for me. It's already hard enough. Just in the morning when I wake up, I puke first, okay? That's what my life looks like. So you can't make it any harder on me or any other of my patients. Thank you.
Hillary Kreiner, followed by Nicola.
Hi, my name's Hillary Kreiner. I'm from Family Tree Cooperative located in Reading. I first wanted to answer the question that you asked Mr. Chappelle about the doctors writing. For one, it's not a prescription. They cannot prescribe cannabis. They can recommend it. Part of your problem you have is the Reading ordinance, which demanded an amount put on a prescription, which most of the people in Shasta County that live in Shasta County do their business in Reading, and they're seeing their doctors in Reading. And Reading demanded these doctors to write amount of plants or amount that they could use. What happened was the doctor, I spoke to a doctor on this, he has to follow the rule that he can recommend it. He's not supposed to tell you how to use it or how much to use. He can ask the question to the patient how much they are using, and the patient gives him the answer, and that's what he wrote down. I saw recommendations with 30,000 ounces a year on them because the doctor cannot prescribe an amount. The state set an amount of 6 plants and that you could have 8 ounces on a person. There's no doctor can write an amount. You have to have an element. Once you say you go over the state guidelines, like in the Kelly case, he had hepatitis C, he was terminal, so the 6 plants was not enough for terminal patients. Your planning guy says this isn't an easy solution. It is an easy solution. You have it, SB 420, Proposition 215. You are wasting time and money. It's 6 plants per patient. Make it simple. Give an amount a property can grow. How many patients can grow on one property? And that's 6 times however many patients they are. Leave it up to the patient to follow the rules. These aren't patients that have the AK-47s in front of the grows. They aren't. They found the loophole. That's the doctor's fault. That's not the medical marijuana patient's fault. The doctors that are out there making this money and the lawyers that are making the money, he's writing the script. The patients aren't writing the scripts, the doctors are. So they shouldn't be punished for a doctor who's benefiting from the Proposition 215. Another thing, last year, I want to give you the perspective of a patient. When you guys voted in that ordinance last year, you followed with a TV commercial. Turn your neighbors in under the new Shasta County ordinance. You had radio ads blasting for people to spy on their neighbors and turn them in. You never once put out an educational ad to all the medical marijuana patients in the county. Please call us so you can understand the new ordinance. Half the people in your county didn't even know there was an ordinance, but you're sending out messages and commercials to their neighbors to turn them in, and they don't even know there's an ordinance. I found that disheartening. I found that lack of compassion that you're going to send people to attack patients and not even offer the education to the patients to understand your ordinance, and you can't understand half the stuff in it anyways. I don't know if the 2 new supervisors are aware of this. They gave you 60 square feet to grow in. My bathroom is bigger than 60 square feet. 6 plants cannot fit in 60 square feet. And listen to this. They added in your storage. You can't even store your medicine in a cabinet in your home. You have to store it in an outbuilding, and that's against your 60 square feet. So if you store in 25 square feet, you have to deduct that from your growing space.
Okay. Now we have a question from Supervisor Chappelle.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe. I was just going to make a comment that I wanted to thank you for clarifying that with me on the prescription, because I felt there was a problem with that, and that may be one of the avenues of the problems that we need to try and rectify.
Well, being that we're in court right now with the city of Reading, I'm sure, and that their ordinance is gone, it's going to help this next year because people aren't going to be rushing to Reading to have 30,000 ounces put on their script.
Right.
Because that's what they demanded.
Right. And thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole, followed by Christina Fox.
I'm not here speaking, but maybe for myself. I live out of town, out of city residence. I've done everything compliance that you've asked. In last year's grow, I've even to the point where I've taken a measuring tape from the bus stop to where my grow is to make sure that I am in compliance with all your laws. I have right now an indoor grow in compliance with your laws that you are trying to set in place already going. Since I was here last time, I don't know if you remember, I told you that I was on Asifex for over 7 years, which they make you, it gives you early osteoporosis. I've now been diagnosed with early osteoporosis for being on it for 7 years. I'm 43 years old. The government and prescriptions put me, this is a prescription medicine that is actually going to make my bones brittle. I eat cannabis and it cures my acid in my stomach. It helps me be able to get through my day and eat. But I did not solve my problem. The 7 years that I was put on this medication by a pharmaceutical doctor that says this is going to cure me has done nothing but make my pain and everything worse in my life. Where if I fall down, I can break a bone very easily. I'm 43 years old. I shouldn't have osteoporosis at this age. But with the medication I was put on, I just want to grow for myself to be able to keep myself alive and feeling out of pain. I've done everything possible to make the regulations. I want to say something about what the doctor said. If you can find me one person, just one person in the United States, even in the world, that has died from any kind of cancer, lung cancer, from smoking cannabis, please bring that person forward. And his name, I would love to hear it, because you will not, in any record anywhere, be able to find anything that states that smoking cannabis will cause lung cancer. And that is a fact. And it is out there. And I don't know where this doctor got his information from, but like he said, reefer madness, that's how far back this goes. It's just, Google it, research it. CBDs is such a big thing. I mean, it's because what, the government can't get their hands on the money? Is this why we're trying to do this? Just do the right thing and regulate it and keep it to the way that it is and keep the grows, let us grow. I mean, we only want to grow for ourselves. We're not the people here, people that are here talking to you aren't the ones that are trying to make money off of this. They're the people that are here that just want to help themselves. You know, I moved here from New Jersey to help myself and get off this medication, and now you're trying to take that right away from me. So, and I, to what, maybe go back on some kind of PIP to control my acid that will maybe even give me more of osteoporosis or make it worse for me in later on at such a young age? I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say. So I just hope that you really consider this and keep it into the regulations that it's out now. I mean, like you said, oxygen, plants form oxygen, we breathe oxygen, we need oxygen to live.
Good.
Period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christina Fox, followed by Rob McDonald.
Hi, my name is Christina Fox. I'm here for myself as a medical cannabis patient. I've been in front of you guys before, and I've told you guys my life story, being born disabled, getting into an accident, falling off a 2-story balcony, splitting my head open at 1.5 years. I know I don't look disabled to you, and I'm sorry for that, but I have bone marrow depletion as well. I have schizophrenia, I'm manic depressant, I'm bipolar, and I do the best that I can to take care of myself. And I've been seeing doctors since before I can even remember being able to ride a bike. And they had me on a list of medications that made me incoherent. I couldn't start school in time. I didn't walk until I was 6. I didn't start medical cannabis until I was 18 years old. And it has been a lifesaver for me. And if we're here to spit out facts and stuff for the uneducated citizens that live near me, facts are 10 trees, 10 regular oak trees give out just as much oxygen as one marijuana plant. There's an actual fact for you. I know the smell might bother some people, but you know what? Roses give out smells too. Different plants give out smells too. There's nothing we can do about that. Are you going to get rid of roses just because somebody happens to not like the smell of them? It's not fair to punish us and treat us like criminals when we do everything you guys tell us to. You say, okay, well, this is the amount you guys have to grow it. That's fine. Okay, you know what? I will do what I can to make it work. I can't fit my 6 plants into there, so you know what? I'll just do 4 this year because that's what you guys are allotted me, is my 4 plants instead of 6 because I can't happen to fit them in there. And now you're trying to tell me that I have to stick it into a building? I live off a disability. If my husband didn't have a job and wasn't attending college right now, I wouldn't barely be able to afford my electricity because I can only afford my rent and my cell phone. That's it. I can't go and sit here and try to afford all these medications that everybody wants to pump me full of. I have 3 kids I have to care for. And sitting here making sure I take these crazy medicines on time. They put me on methadone. I watched my friend die in a coma over methadone. And she took it for the first time as the doctor told her to. And she died that day. That's not what I want. I want to be able to promise my kids that I can take my medicine and I'll be able to wake up in the morning and be there to give them a hug and a kiss on their way off to school. And I can't do that with these pills. These pills are scary. So you guys cannot take away my only way to grow, because the collectives are supposed to be getting their medicine from the patients. It's supposed to be a cycle. We give them our extra medicine that we don't need because we're covered for the year, and they give out the medicine to the patients. That's how it's supposed to be. So if you guys take away our way of growing, then what are you guys going to do to our collectives? That's our only other way of getting medicine, going and purchasing it. So if you guys take that away, we really have nowhere we can get our medicine after that.
Thank you.
Rob McDonald, followed by Steve Goodman.
Hi, I'm Rob McDonald. I own NorCalBeat.com here in Redding, California. It's a news website for all of Northern California. And this is one of the issues that I am trying to educate the public on. In fact, on the health page, I've got a movie about how cannabis oil cured skin cancer, and there's other stuff there too. Primarily, what I see going on here is folks trying to regulate things that they should not be regulating. We have natural rights as American citizens, and to grow a plant is a natural right. There was never a constitutional amendment that took the right to grow a plant away from American citizens. I do know that there was a constitutional amendment that took the right to build a still and create alcohol away, but that didn't last very long, only about 11 years. Let's just be logical about this whole thing, because that's what I'm really tired of, is no logic. Prohibition creates scarcity. Scarcity creates higher prices. Higher prices create greed, and greed creates all the problems that everybody that's against this are complaining about. Then I hear a lady talking about how her kids use marijuana as a gateway drug to other stuff. Well, when her kids went through elementary school, they were told that marijuana was the same as those others. That is not correct at all. Marijuana is a natural plant. It has certain medicinal properties, and some people use it recreationally. Recreationally, it is not even a quarter as dangerous as alcohol. I would even say less than 10%. Alcohol causes most of the auto accidents we see, but yet that's fine. I don't have a problem with alcohol, because we are free individuals. And yes, we have to have rules and laws to try and get everybody to get along, but having people coming in here and telling you stuff that honestly isn't true. They believe it because they've been told that all their lives, but it's not true. And the reason that this became illegal in the first place was to get rid of hemp. Had nothing to do with marijuana, cannabis, and people getting high. It had to do with Henry Ford wanting to use it as a fuel source instead of gasoline from the oil companies. It had to do with the cotton manufacturers not wanting to compete with hemp as a material source. It had to do with the medical community not wanting to compete with cannabis as a medicine. Okay? And all of these groups getting together and legislating that the people must pay for these little pills and no other way to take their medicine is wrong. There are lots of herbalists that use many herbs besides marijuana for their own healing, primarily because they can't afford the medical model, and it works just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Steve Goodman, followed by Kerry Hops.
I wish to wish all the esteemed members of the board a good morning and a happy new year. My name's Steve Goodman. I'm from up in the hills of Oak Run, and I've given a lot of thought about what I could say, what kernel I could offer that might be of some insight to this board. And there's one thing that has really struck me about the whole medical marijuana issue that I wish to share. This comes from the Huffington Post. A pair of scientists at the California Pacific Medical Institute in San Francisco have found that a compound derived from marijuana can stop metastasis of many kinds of aggressive cancers, potentially altering the fatality of this disease forever. It took us 20 years of research to figure this out, but we are very excited, said the scientist behind the discovery to the Huffington Post. We want to get started with trials as soon as possible. It was reported that this has undergone both laboratory and animal testing and is waiting clinical trials with human beings. A molecular biologist, this guy Desprez, spent decades studying ID1, the gene that causes cancer to spread. Meanwhile, fellow researcher Sean McAllister was studying the effects of cannabinoid, or CBD, a non-toxic, non-psychoactive chemical compound found in the cannabis plant. Finally, the pair collaborated, combining CBD and cells containing high levels of ID1 in a petri dish. What we found was that this cannabinoid could essentially turn off the ID1. Now it goes on. This goes on. We live in a brave new world. We live in a world where people come in and say that the pills that they buy at the store kill them. My best friend from high school had bipolar. He was given a slew of antidepressants until he finally went out and bought a Browning 9mm, put it to his head and blew his brains out because he couldn't take it anymore. You hear a lot of stories. There's a lot of talk about cannabis. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of emotions. There's been decades of reefer madness where we've been given false stories. The idea, when I hear people say, it makes me really sad when I hear them say, the children, because we are talking to issues, adults and children. Now, last time I spoke before this board, one of the principals from Palo Cedro came and was discussing the children issue. Well, I went and looked up on the internet where Palo Cedro stands as far as the state of California in school. 96%. We should be proud. Most of our schools in this county are doing excellent. Apparently, the cannabis is not causing that much trouble because our kids are doing really well. And that's a good thing for all of us. It's something we all should be proud of. We are a community. Coming here to speak before you is our democracy. We come together. We need to understand each other and craft laws that work for everybody, not just small groups that want to say marijuana and DUI. No, there is no connection between marijuana and DUI. Marijuana and cancer, it causes cancer. There is not a single study anywhere that shows that cannabis causes cancer, or they'd be showing it. They'd be flouting that. I know my time's up. Thank you very much. Please make sensible decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin.
Gary Hops, followed by Betty Cunningham. Is Carrie here?
Yeah.
It's Carrie, followed by Betty Cunningham.
Apologize to the board, we just had a hard time hearing out there. My name is Carrie Hoppus, and I am a marriage family therapist and an executive director of a nonprofit counseling agency. And I've testified to the board numerous times. Probably 99% of my practice is working with teens. And for the last 12 years, I've developed and ran a drug and alcohol program for a local school district dealing specifically with children who have gotten in trouble or are using drugs and alcohol. I know that it sounds great that we could separate these two issues and we could talk about adult use and teen use, but I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, at least for us people who are in the trenches, that's absolutely impossible. For about 10 years prior to us having these marijuana regulations, the number of students that were referred to my programs remained about the same. As soon as we got these regulations, I saw a 25% increase in the number of students who were getting in trouble with drugs and alcohol. Then last year I saw a 20% increase on top of that, and this year those numbers are holding, okay? I understand that it is a state law that we have voted in medical marijuana, but I also hear Mr. Simon talking to you about his frustration with the number of people who are in violation for the ordinances that you've already put in place. Okay, and I also heard him say that only 15% of the grows that he went to were in compliance. From my perspective, what I see is that Those folks who are not in compliance, and that was a very small number because he doesn't have the staffing and he doesn't have the funding to go and actually look at those sites, okay? What I see is how that gets to my kids, okay? And if you want me to tell you that it's better, if you want me to tell you it's not happening, I cannot tell you that. And anyone who works with our local youth is going to tell you the same exact thing, okay? I understand that you are trying to create something that is going to work for everyone, but what I want you to hear is what we're doing currently is not working, okay? It is not working, and it has not changed, and it has not gotten any better. And I see local folks who try to follow what we've done. They've turned in tons of complaints. They've done things for people who are out of compliance. And unfortunately, the way it sits right now, as Mr. Simon was saying, by the time he can get there, it's already harvested, okay, and it's already out in our community, and that's a problem. And it really hurts my heart because I see a lot of kids, I see a lot of potential that is not going to be realized because of what's happened. And as you all know, there's incredible studies that have come out. There's a new 25-year longitudinal study that came out of New Zealand that shows that when you start using marijuana in high school and you continue on with it, even if you start later on in your life, you have probably shaved about 8 points off your IQ. And that was over 1,000 people, and it's a longitudinal valid study. And we have to consider some of those things when we start to look at how we're doing things in our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Betty Cunningham, followed by Tracy McWithy.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here this morning. My name's Betty Cunningham. I'm the Executive Director of Shasta County Chemical People. There's nothing I can add to what Carrie has already said about the impact this is having on our youth. I know that you out there and you up here are looking at this issue and you're saying, well, of course it can't happen with the youth, but it is. And as she said, what we're doing is not enough. I would like to suggest that, I took some notes because I was taking to heart what Chairman Kehoe said, and I've crossed out a lot of what I was going to say. I want to stay pertinent. I want to not repeat myself, but one thing I do want to repeat is that what we need is to have a community advisory committee attached to this planning commission issue. Many times, many of the things that you're sending back are things that your constituents have brought to you before, a year and a half ago. For instance, having it be a misdemeanor with more than $100 fine, so there's a bigger impact. We were told by county council, by the CAO, and you guys that couldn't happen. Well, that's something that you're looking at doing now. An advisory committee of community members could help impact some of that stuff. We have proven that we have something to offer. We have expertise in this area, no matter which side of the coin you're on. And I urge you to tap into that expertise. You can look at me and you can say to me, I don't understand county budgets, I don't understand county politics, I don't understand county policies, but you cannot look at me or anybody in this audience and tell them they do not understand the medical marijuana issue. And we have something to offer to the Planning Commission, we have something to offer to you, and I urge you to create a committee, as it's been said before on both sides of this issue, that we can deal with this and come out with a solution that's going to be at least livable for everybody and protect our youth, and that's exactly what we're looking for. It is time to bring the community together with this issue. You just honored your Employee of the Year, who is a community outreach person. If you truly believe in community outreach, I urge you to come forward and make sure that there are community members on anything that happens this forward for the medical marijuana issue. Thank you.
Supervisor Chappelle.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe. One quick observation is as to one of my notes when I was reviewing this last night is I believe that what she hit on there is a community advisory panel where we have discussion on both sides and come to, as another gentleman had expressed in here, a meeting of the minds that can be agreeable with everybody. As we see, this is a real hot button issue, okay, and we have really two different sides like Fords and Chevrolets. And so if we could have that type of a development and that type of a committee developed, to where we could actually come into an agreement that could be acceptable, and it may not be totally acceptable on either side, where we could get something where people could live with. Because I understand both sides of the problem. I've actually had it brought to my attention. I've actually seen some of it. And I actually see that we also have people that are very much dependent on the medical use. I also know about prescription drugs fairly well. I also know they are just as hazardous as anything else out there, okay? They have long-term effects. And any of them are especially your antidepressant. They're depressants that create depression, and a lot of people commit suicide on them. So they're not necessarily the answer. So we need to get to where we can get a collective, and I'd like to see where we could get acceptable, like I said earlier, though, not exactly maybe acceptable both sides, but close enough to where we can all agree. Thank you.
Tracy McWithy, followed by Gina McMunday.
My name's Tracy McWithy, and I would like to thank you for your time this morning as I address the Board of Supervisors, Shasta County, and thank everybody who made time to come here. Earlier, I saw a lot of people that it was difficult for me to get here. I can't imagine how difficult for some of those patients that had to come in on their canes and stuff at that time of the morning being so cold. I see that there is a lot of I don't hear a lot of knowledge about the research on the positive side of cannabis. And so what I've done is I've brought a book that you can test the footnotes, and everything in it is validated by Cliff Warner, and it's called Marijuana Gateway to Health. And I've provided the board members with as many copies as I had, and I'd like to also bring more up. My copy will stay with the deputy, this lady right here, I'm told has to have a copy of it, and I'd be happy for her to have a copy. In doing research, growing indoors and outdoors with the zoning issue. Has anyone bought strawberries out of season at the store? How do they taste? They don't taste good. If you were at Winco and you were thinking you wanted strawberries for your family and you had the opportunity to go by a strawberry field on the way home, wouldn't you stop at the strawberry field knowing that you were going to bring your family home some good organic strawberries that will have more vitamin value? Cannabis grown outdoor in the CBDs has found to have more healing effects and less psychoactive activity by having the nature to be able to grow in the sun. The sun provides more medicinal properties in the cannabis grown outdoors. Several of the people who spoke on your behalf earlier were talking about time and time constraints in order to get things in order. 1 year time was not enough time for them to get in order how to regulate the current laws in effect. Obviously, to add more to it, zoning and outdoor things would put a bigger strain on both you as a group who have to make a significant decision, the community who would have to decide how would they even be able to put these new zoning laws into effect financially. It would make the city of Reading quite richer because then we would all have to have lights instead of using the sunlight. All of those things would not benefit anybody. This is not an easy decision. It's not an easy decision to make everybody here happy and everybody in our community. But in the world today, countries are using medical cannabis to shrink tumors and cancer. We have a huge medical issue. We have Obamacare, and we have pharmaceutical companies that have all of the money, and they are making all of the calls. A few people being able to take care of their diseases would take a huge, huge force and pressure off of what is required. I mean, if you can take care of yourself medically, then that's not going to increase your medical bills in the country. Just the whole cycle of it, it would lower your people's needs for prescriptions. And the Obamacare, maybe it would offset giving people the opportunity to acknowledge that nutrition and things that they can do themselves would heal them versus going to a doctor for pills.
Thank you.
And please read this book because you need this education because you're in for a huge decision and
Thank
this
you.
will educate you.
Thank
Gina
you.
McMunday, followed by Dolores Lucero.
Hi everyone, my name is Gina Monday, not McMonday. Welcome new supervisors. My name is Gina Monday. I'm a collective owner of the Green Heart Collective. I'm sure you've heard in the news lately that got a little visit from the DEA. I'm here to say that I'm a little upset for what I've been hearing, especially that the supervisors put in this ordinance last year, but didn't compensate the planning department nor the sheriff any money to help compensate for them to go out on these complaints and these code violations. You're going to give for the drug and alcohol treatment program, you're going to give them, not out of the general fund, but you're going to give them $100,000, but not over $165,000 per year with an additional 2 years. I don't know why you didn't give that to the planning department or the sheriffs to help protect them when they have to go out on these illegal grows and to keep them safe. It's upsetting that you can't keep or staff ordinances that you put in place. I know that when the DEA came, they seized the medicine that was on the property and at the stores. We had recommendations that covered those plants, but I'm also here to tell you that if you're going to adjust or addend the ordinance, that you need to adjust the ordinance as far as banning collectives in Shasta County. I live in the county, I live in a rural area. I don't smell my neighbor's roses because I don't live far enough so I can smell them. I have 40 acres. I should be able to put and grow whatever I want on there as long as I keep it safe, secure, and according to compliance. Having a collective in the county would help generate money. You could tax it and help the county with county issues, with maybe in the planning, maybe in the sheriff's. Tammy, Tammy has her medicine tested out at the Queen of Dragons, and I do have a THC that has tested under 1% of THC and over 12 and almost 13% on the CBD. The Green Heart is focused on healing. It is obviously that there's people in Anderson that do not care for cannabis and do not want it in their city. The Green Heart there is to help educate, help keep people in compliance, help them knowledge and keep with state law, and to help local patients get their medicine that don't have a means to grow it and to have a safe place to obtain it. Having a safe place to obtain your medicine, I think, is very important, because if you don't have collectives and if you don't have the cooperatives, then you have the people growing it, but then you also have people stealing it. I had 2 grow locations, 2012. In 2011, some of my gardens were stolen, and some of that medicine was high CBD medicine. And if you people would put in a council that could focus and make it safe for the adults as well as the children, and give some of this money that you're given to the Vision of the Cross, and give it to the planning, and give it to the sheriffs to help keep them safe for the illegal grows.
Thank you.
Dolores Lucero, followed by Susan Bryant.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Dolores Lucero, and I'm really just so bothered with this. I hear everybody talk about themselves. I understand that there's a lot of people who do need the medicine, but when I see people who don't need it and they're abusing the drug, basically, it's kind of wrong. It's actually wrong when they're trying to shove it down our throats. When you have the smell just reeking from when I'm going home on the freeway, I can smell it from, I guess, what is it? One of those exits there. It's like three exits before I even get off my street, to get home. It smells on the freeway. It's so bad. And these people are adults, and they basically forget about the children. They talk about their civil rights, their rights to grow, their rights. Everything's about their rights. What about the children's rights? Who's thinking about them? Who's speaking for them? Who's standing up for them? Yes, there is rights. They have rights. But what about those children? They can't even stand up for themselves and defend themselves. That's where you come in to protect the citizens, but also protect the children who cannot defend themselves. Those adults made choices. They made choices to do what they wanted to do with their lives. I understand they have medical issues. They choose to use the medical marijuana. That's fine. But they still have to comply and they have to follow the laws. The children, it's your responsibility because those kids are just been growing up with these kind of families. These kids are going to grow up to just follow the same footsteps of their parents, thinking it's okay. Like this woman who comes up here, Rosemary Smith, who actually represents the school for the Gateway School. How do you think these children see this woman when she actually was a board of trustee who grows? She gets up here and she talks about the growing. I think that's so, you know, I can't even find the word for it because it disgusts me to see people who take a position like this to represent the school for children. But yet she's a grower. I mean, the kids are not going to have any respect for people like that. I mean, you need to protect the children. You need to decide for them. These adults, they're adults. They chose what they wanted to do with their lives. Yes, also consider the people who do need them for the medical. But the children need you to make the tough decisions to make sure we don't have abusers and taking advantage of those citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero.
Thank you.
Susan Bryant, followed by Shay, believe it's Duzenak.
Good afternoon, I'm Susan Bryant. I'm a real estate broker for 35 years in Reading. I was born here. I've spoke here on this issue 3 times now. I'm really concerned that every year the patients have to come back and ask, why are we being attacked? And why are the illegal grows not being attacked? You guys are dealing with medical patients, not illegal grows, not cartels. I told Mr. Hawes last year and Mr. Modi, I don't see a cartel member here. I see patients. I'm here speaking for people who cannot get here. I have to say that I'm thrilled to be hearing that you guys are now actually being introduced to CBD. Last year, nobody on the board had a clue what a CBD was. I'm disheartened that a man from the backwoods appears to be more educated on cancer research, CBDs, and cannabinoids than our Board of Supervisors. I'm really glad to see that you were given copies of Mr. Werner's book. Mr. Werner is in the Bay Area and concentrates on all the studies coming out of UCSF Medical Center, where they have a cannabis cancer research program and where they are curing skin cancer with the extracted oils from cannabis, only cannabis, nothing else. Also, the man brought up about CPMC, California Pacific Medical Center. They just cured breast cancer on a lady there 2 months ago. It was on the news with CBD alone. My best friend works there, and I'm thrilled to know about that because they also stopped it from metastasizing to the rest of her body. They did not chemo her, they did not radiate her. She has no damage. I personally know of chemo damage because I lost my boyfriend of 14 years to esophageal cancer, not to the cancer, but because he could not recover from the chemo. They got the cancer, the chemo got him. My brother, a veteran, was Agent Orange, got leukemia, and we lost him a few years ago. That's how I got into this. I decided I'm done with losing people I care about. I'm going to figure out some things, and I've been fortunate to meet many of the researchers at UCSF and have my best friend at CPMC where they just cured breast cancer. Please read this book that she gave you. It is full of our own government studies that should be mainstream media. We don't have to do pharmaceuticals. We can use herbs and have no chemo damage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm probably the youngest person that'll be up here speaking today, so far that I've noticed. I was not prepared to come here. I got a call that found out that this meeting was being held, and I kind of jumped and ran, so pardon my appearance. I just want to encourage you guys towards a couple things. I used to be really closed-minded when it came to medical marijuana as a whole, and it wasn't until my grandparents started struggling with severe health issues, and they're both in their late 80s now, and they were coming in with piles and piles of medications. And I've always been one for alternative medicines. Before I even messed with medical cannabis at all, I was always looking, always searching for something to get my grandparents off of what they were on, what they were ingesting on a constant basis. And I really don't think that the struggle here is about whether it's right or wrong. I mean, I think we've all discovered that there are so many health benefits, but really, in speaking about our community right now, 50% of the people who come in, I work for a medical marijuana recommendation facility now, and over 50% of the people that come in are either on Social Security or disability. And these people don't have the resources that it takes and the money that it takes to invest in indoor grows. They really don't. And you know, you're putting all these stipulations on them and you're putting all these boundaries around them and you're suffocating them when all they're really trying to do is get medicine for themselves, is make something. They don't have to pay for it. You know, they don't have to go in all the time. It's not a poison in their body. They're going for their own natural remedy, and they want to grow it for themselves, and they want to be able to do it, you know, in a respectful manner, but at the same time, just pay attention and educate yourselves and educate the young people. It's hard to see so many people throw your youth under the bus as far as alcohol and marijuana, when if your education system worked at it, if your parents taught you, if you were enriched in your environment, I think that a lot of young people would have a different perspective on it. Stop treating them like criminals. Stop, you know what I mean? It's the mentality that goes along with positive reinforcement for our young people. And I just encourage you guys to educate yourselves, because the decisions that you make, you're educating everyone around you, including all the people that came up here. I have a lot of respect for everyone, but just push yourselves to research it and to know what it's about before you make a judgment call. That's all.
Thank you. That concludes the number of speakers that have filled out the application to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board? Please step forward.
Hi, this is the first meeting I've been to on this, so I'm a little nervous. I apologize. My name is Brooke Goforth. And I'm not really prepared to say anything, but listening to everybody has just given me tons of ideas. I certainly understand that people need help, medical help, and that it's very difficult for people to afford what they need. I don't care if you're working. I haven't had a raise in 8 years. I can't afford a lot of things myself. But I feel very strongly, I live in a subdivision here in Reading, and since this law was passed, my life has been hell with the stench of the plant. It does not have the same aroma as rose. I don't care how you want to compare it. I don't know if my neighbors are doing anything illegal. I'm sure they have 215 cards, but they might have 6 people that they say live at that house that have the 215 cards. They have just a ton of plants back there. They have dogs that are very aggressive guarding their plants. This is in a small neighborhood subdivision, and I am not alone in this problem. It's just causing too much. If you put these people together and let them buy 40 acres out in the mountains and have a collective out there, let them do that. But keep it out of the neighborhoods. We don't need it. We don't want it. If they want to grow, perhaps they can go around to all their neighbors and they can get a sign off. Sure, we don't mind if you grow. We don't mind if we have to smell it. We don't mind if we don't have parking. We don't mind a lot of things. Sure, go ahead and do it. We have rights too. And I don't know if this is the answer, but I want to go in my backyard without the smell. I want to enjoy my animals in the backyard without aggressive dogs on the other side. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the thrown up fencing that looks like heck. I just want my rights recognized as well as the other people who have theirs. We do need to come to some kind of middle ground here. And I do agree, I think it should be enclosed. If it's going to be grown, it needs to be enclosed away from sight and away from smell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goforth. Anyone else, please? All right, I think what we're going to do now is we've heard from 27 speakers this morning. I compliment all of you for your courtesy and your politeness. Appreciate it. We're going to take a short break, and then following that break, I'm going to ask you, Mr. Lees, to characterize for us, the board, and also those in the audience today, what the question is before us, and then we'll open it for board discussion and deliberation. So let's reconvene at 5 after 12. Thank you.